Hello, this is Atula Dasana Dhamma School Abhidhamma Lessons. This is the sixth lesson of this series. In here, we are going to talk about grouping of mental factors and consciousness, and it's called synthesis or sangrahanaya. Please make sure you have gone through mental factors and consciousness tutorials before going through this lesson because it's very important you understand the concept and all the consciousness and mental factors in order to understand this because this is grouping, and if you don't know what they are, you will certainly not be able to group them. So let's go through this synthesis. Synthesis is we take every consciousness and classify on what mental factors associate with them. In other words, this is like you take a drink and you see what are the ingredients they made of. So you take a tea, you say, okay, this tea is made out of water, tea, and if you put milk, maybe milk. Or you take orange juice, you can say, okay, you got orange, it maybe got maybe some sugar, water. So likewise, you take each and every uh, drink and then see what are the ingredients made out of it. So similarly, in this case, you take each consciousness, there are 89 or 121, you take them and see which 52 ingredients or mental factors associate with those. So I'll go through some facts. I think we discussed in our previous tutorial as well, but it's good to know. So we know universals, they're like water in a drink. They appear or associate with all 89 or 121 consciousness. Occasionals associate with 89 or 121 consciousness where suitable. Unwholesome mental factors, there are 14 of them. They are only associated with 12 unwholesome mental factors. If you can remember that unhealthy ingredient in unhealthy drink, such as additional sugar. So this is kind of a one where you put unwholesome mental factor, then you get unwholesome consciousness. Beautiful factors. So we talk about 59 wholesome consciousness. So beautiful factors only associate with um beautiful consciousness or wholesome consciousness. And again, five unwholesome resultant consciousness in rootless sense specific and five wholesome resultant consciousness in root specific have only the seven universal mental factors associated with them. We discussed this one in our analysis uh, tutorial in detail, so hopefully you can remember that. Okay, let's straight away go to synthesis of supramundane consciousness. Perhaps this one is easier because you know there are 52 mental factors, and also from previous discussion, you know, unwholesome mental factors, which are 14 of them, they cannot appear in supramundane consciousness because unwholesome ones only appear in bad, unwholesome consciousnesses. Also, two illimitables do not occur in supramundane consciousness. So there are 14 plus 2, they are never appear in any of the supramundane consciousness. So if you got the first jhana supramundane consciousness, so 52 take away 16 because there are 52 mental factors, and we know unwholesome not appear in here, and also illimitables not appear 16. So 52 take away 16 become 36. That's why first jhana supramundane consciousness got only 36 mental factors in it. We go to second jhana, and if you can remember the jhana factors, the initial application jhana factor disappeared when you go to the second jhana. So as a result, it got one less because it doesn't include initial application of vitakka. Go to the third jhana, then of course sustained application goes away. So from original 36, less initial application and sustained application of vitakka and vichara, which add up to 34. When go to fourth jhana, the joy or preeti goes away. So original 36, take away initial application, sustained application, and joy will add up to 33. In fifth jhana, can you remember fourth jhana got two versions, and in fifth jhana, second version of fourth jhana, uh, happiness or joy goes away, but instead equanimity or upekka appears. So as a result, there's no change in number, but if you look at closer, you see uh, fourth jhana got joy, and fifth jhana, it not include joy or happiness, but it got equanimity. So that's the difference. So that's the synthesis of supramundane consciousness. Now, supramundane synthesis of Mahagata consciousness. We talk about there are 15 fine material consciousness and 12 immaterial consciousness are called Mahagata because those are jhana consciousness. So we know unwholesome mental factors, 14 of them, cannot appear in Mahagata consciousness because we know unwholesome consciousness can only happen in unwholesome, unwholesome mental factors only can happen on unwholesome consciousness, which is in fine material world, which is the good and bad world with all awful states, heaven and human plane. Whereas fine material and immaterial planes are jhana planes, so they don't have unwholesome consciousness there. So as a result, there are no unwholesome mental factors there. And also three abstinences or virati do not arise in Mahagata Chitta. So uh, as a result, 17 uh, consciousness, 17 mental factors not appear in 52, uh, those Mahagata consciousness. So if I go to first jhana, supramundane consciousness, as we know, there are 52 mental factors altogether. 14 plus 3, 17 won't appear there. So as a result, first jhana got 35. Similar to previous one, when you go to second jhana, initial application goes away. As a result, 35 less initial application is 34. And go to third jhana Mahagata chitta, uh, there are 35 uh, less initial application and sustained application, which will up to 33. Fourth jhana, again, less initial application and sustained application and joy, it become 32. When it comes to fifth jhana, that's slightly different because it basically get two illimitables away. So as a result, it become 30 out of 35, less initial application and sustained application, joy, and two illimitables, altogether 5. 35 take away 5 become 30. So that's why they have 30. Fifth jhana, Mahagata consciousness is not supramundane, by the way. It's a Mahagata consciousness. They have 30 mental factors associated with them. Now let's go to sense sphere consciousness. So we know there are 24 of them altogether, and we discuss wholesome, resultant, and functional separately. There are a few facts for you to remember. Some of them you already aware. Unwholesome mental factors do not occur in beautiful, obvious. Uh, Preeti or joy, which is a pleasant feeling. Upeka, equanimity, uh, can happen on some of them, depending on we're going to discuss. No prajna or wisdom in some consciousnesses. No abstinences in functional beautiful consciousness, but can be on others. No abstinences and illimitables in resultant beautiful consciousnesses. So those are the facts we need to remember. So we know 14 unwholesome cannot happen here. So if we pick two consciousness with pleasant feeling and wisdom, so that means they got the wisdom, they got the joy. So out of 52 mental factors, we only remove 14 unwholesome mental factors. So 52 take away 14 become 38. So in wholesome consciousness associated with pleasant feeling and wisdom, the only difference on prompted and unprompted, on those two type of consciousnesses, there are up to 38 mental factors. And then we have the same version, no wisdom. So if those consciousness have no wisdom, that means this 38 take away wisdom become 37. And then if you think about these four, those four has a pleasant feeling and those four are neutral feeling. So that means joy goes away from those. So 37, so we have 38, they have wisdom, but joy goes away, so it becomes 37 in this case because they are neutral feeling with wisdom. So only difference is no joy compared to this stage because wisdom is already there in here. And then other two with a neutral feeling with no wisdom, that means you have 38 altogether, and take away wisdom and happiness, then it becomes 36. I think it's easy to understand. So those are the wholesome consciousness in sense we are beautiful consciousnesses. And then we have another 8 beautiful functional consciousness and beautiful resultant consciousness. So we talk about beautiful functional consciousness, and we mentioned in previous slide, abstinences are not in functional consciousness. So we have 52, take away 14, take away 3 abstinences, which will add up to 35 in this consciousness with wisdom. And then there are 2 consciousness without wisdom. So difference is that compared to this, those 2 consciousness is that there's no wisdom. So you take away wisdom 2, so it become 35 become 34. And then there are 2 other with neutral feeling, so no joy. So it's the same as 35 because there wisdom included, but you don't have joy because those are neutral feeling compared to pleasant feeling on previous one. So as a result, 38 take away joy, take away 3 abstinences become 34. And the next one, next two actually, so those neutral feeling and no wisdom either. So original 38 take away 38 is like 52 take away 14 unwholesome mental factors, then no wisdom, no joy, no 3 abstinences, altogether it become 33 mental factors. Um, and then we go to beautiful resultant consciousness. Again, we group them similarly. And the other thing to remember is that on beautiful resultant consciousness, there are no illimitables. So we can remember our discussion, there are 2 illimitables under 25 beautiful mental factors. So as a result, in these mental consciousnesses associated with pleasant feeling and wisdom, so you have 52 mental factors altogether. You remove 14 unwholesome mental factors and 3 abstinences and 2 illimitables. It becomes 33. And only difference between these two and those two are no wisdom here. So from 32, you take away wisdom, it becomes 32. From 33, you take away one wisdom, it becomes 32. Uh, those two, pleasant feeling become a neutral feeling, so joy goes away, but wisdom is there. So same as here, you don't have joy. So as a result, 33, or if we talk about 52 less 14 unwholesome mental factors become 38, and no joy because they are neutral, and no 3 abstinences and no 2 illimitables, it becomes 32. And when it comes to the last two, that only difference between here and here is that no wisdom. So you take away wisdom from 32, you take away wisdom, it becomes 31 mental factors. So that's how we group uh, the consciousness and see what mental factors included on those. So similar to take the drink and see which ingredients have on those drinks. Now, the unwholesome consciousness. We know there are 12 unwholesome consciousness and 14 unwholesome mental factors. So something to remember, there are 25 beautiful mental factors. They do not occur in unwholesome consciousness. Quadruple of delusion, or we call it Sabba Akusala Sadharana Chadasika, are common to all. That's why they call it Sabba Akusala means common, Sabba Akusala Sadharana means common to all unwholesome. So we talk about this in detail. I'm sure you can remember those. Um, and then 7 universals, 7 Sabba Akusala factors or unwholesome universal factors, and 3 occasionals, initial application, sustained application, and energy are the 14 mental factors that always occur in unwholesome consciousness. Something to remember. 7 universals, we know they are part of all 89 or 121 consciousnesses, and then 4 uh, universal unwholesome mental factors, or we call them Sabbha Akusala Sadhana Chaitasika, and 3 occasionals. The initial application, sustained application, and energy are the 14 mental factors that always occur in unwholesome consciousness, which means unwholesome consciousness should have minimum of 14 mental factors all the time, minimum of 14 ingredients. So the other few things, greed and anger, they are mutually exclusive. That means you can't really like something and angry about it because they don't happen together. As you know, either you are happy about something or you unhappy. So you can't have both together. So that's why they are mutually exclusive. And wrong view only appear in only 4 consciousness associated with wrong view. So those are the factors. So in light with those uh, things we discuss here, and we can see uh, if you take each and every consciousness, there are 12 consciousness accompanied by joy associated with wrong view and unprompted. We know they are rooted in greed consciousness. That include 13 ethical variables, quadruple of delusion, because we know that those are universal unwholesome factors, and greed, because this is rooted in greed, and you have wrong view, because it's a wrong view. So because that is 19. Same for prompted and unprompted. Only things that we don't have um, uh, view here, wrong view, but instead you have the concept. So as a result, it came at 19. And then neutral feeling. So basically, what happened is that it's same as first one, but you don't have joy. So you take the joy away, it become 18. Then the consciousness accompanied by neutral feeling associated with wrong view and unprompted. If it's unprompted, because it's not you do, uh, so basically you don't have wrong view there without wrong view. So no wrong view, but conceit came in and also no joy, it become 18. So same as here, 19, only difference is that got same similar 19 except joy because neutral feeling and joy, that's the difference. Then the consciousness accompanied with displeasure associated with aversion. So this is rooted in greed. So you will see uh, greed is there. Sorry, rooted in anger. I'm sorry, this is rooted in anger because you do with displeasure. So that's why quadruple of hatred there. So you have 13. Take away joy because it's we do with displeasure. None of the rooted in anger ones has pleasure because you're angry and they are mutually exclusive. As 13 ethical variables take away preeti, and you have quadruple of delusions and quadruple of hatred. If you add them together, 13 take away 112 at 4 plus 4 is 20. Then the consciousness accompanied by joy associated with wrong view and prompted. So you know this is a um, rooted in greed consciousness. So again, it got 13 ethically variables, quadruple of delusion, and sloth torpor because uh, they are prompted. Because you know prompted means it's not you do your own, someone prompted you because you're so lazy. Sloth torpor related to your laziness, and then it's greed because it's rooted in greed consciousness, include greed and with wrong view. So you have wrong view. So as a result, 13 plus 4 plus 2 and plus greed and wrong view, it becomes 21. This is the same, only difference is that without wrong view instead of wrong view. So there's no view, wrong view, but you get the conceit instead. So it will keep on 21. The other one on the list is consciousness accompanied by neutral feeling associated with wrong view and prompted. So there are 20 mental factors because there are 13 ethically variables. And because it's a neutral feeling, there's no happy. You're not doing with joy. So you have to take away preeti out of 12 ethical variables to become 12, plus quadruple of delusions common to all, plus sloth torpor because it's prompted one. And then with it because it's rooted in greed, you got a greed and you have wrong view. So if you add them together, it's 20. So difference between these two is that this is without wrong view. So when without wrong view goes away, but conceit came in. So as a result, it again stay at 20. Other one in the list is consciousness accompanied with displeasure associate with aversion and prompted. So that means this is actually rooted in anger consciousness. So there are 13 ethically variables. So because it's displeasure, you have to take away preeti or joy away. And then you have quadruple of delusion because they are common to all unwholesome. Then you have quadruple of hatred because that's hate rooted in hate or anger. And because it's prompted, you have done yourself, you are lazy, so you have slot top dual inclusive. So as a result, it's 22. Then the two consciousness associated with ignorance, consciousness accompanied by neutral feeling associated with skeptic doubts. So 13 ethically variables take away preeti because those are neutral feeling, and then take away decision because decision is not come with doubt, and take away desire, uh, and you add quadruple of delusion plus doubt because it's, it's come with doubt. So as a result, it will add to 15. The last one, the 12th one, is the consciousness accompanied by neutral feeling associated with the restlessness. Again, we have 13 ethically variables because it's neutral feeling, no joy and no desire, and you have quadruple of delusion. So 13 plus 4 is 17, you take away 2, it becomes 15. So that's the synthesis of unwholesome consciousness, or what mental factors associated with each and every consciousness. Synthesis of rootless. We know there are 18 rootless, and because there are weak ones, rootless consciousness are very weak. Thus, only ethically variable mental factors occur in rootless. If you can recall, out of 52 mental factors, there are 13 ethically variables, 14 unwholesome, 25 wholesome. So because these are rootless, they don't have good roots or bad roots. That means they can only include 13 ethically variables. Also, because um, desire does not occur in rootless either. So that means even 13 take away 1, 12. So maximum number of mental factors that can associate with rootless are 12. And we talk about this. Both wholesome and unwholesome rootless consciousnesses relate to vision, hear, smell, tasting, and body tactile have only 7 universal mental factors. So that means out of 18, we already know about 10 because those 10 have only the 7 universals. They're like water, I told earlier. Uh, so those are the ones to consider. So let's go through. So 10 done because we know this 10 can have only the 7 universals. Then 11, 12, unwholesome, rootless, resultant, investigative consciousness with neutral feeling. Unwholesome, rootless, resultant, investigative consciousness with neutral feeling. So they, in addition to 7 universals, they include initial application, they have sustained application, as well as decision. So as a result, those two got 10 mental factors. Then we have another 3 in a group, rootless functional 5 sense to adverting consciousness, wholesome rootless resultant receiving consciousness with neutral feeling, and wholesome rootless resultant receiving consciousness with neutral feeling. So we know on those 10, we have, on those 3, we have 7 universals, uh, initial application, sustained application, and decision. So those 3 actually called Manodhatu 3K. So that's why to become 10. 16, wholesome, rootless, resultant, investigative consciousness with pleasant feeling. Um, so only difference is that because a pleasant feeling, not a neutral feeling, it has a preeti in it. So as a result, or joy in it, so as a result become 11. 17th one, rootless functional mind-o adverting consciousness. So again, it got 7 universals, initial application, sustained application, and decision, which are the Manodhatu Trike or triad, and it got energy. So because of energy, it become 11. It's got same 10 plus the energy instead of joy here. 18, rootless functional smile producing consciousness of arahants with joy or pleasant feeling. They got 12. How it become 12? Because they got universals and the three manodhatu or triad we talk about, which are initial application, sustained application, and decision. And it got energy as well as because it's come with the joy, it got the joy. As a result, it got 12 mental factors altogether. So this is the synthesis of ahetuka or rootless consciousnesses. So we talk about all the 89 consciousness in here and also group them and with all the mental factors associated with them. So again, if you confused with something, I want you to go back to mental factor and consciousness tutorials we discussed earlier and review them again and again so that you understand mental factors in detail and consciousness in detail. Then it will make sense when we group them. So please do so if you don't understand this. So I'll meet you with a next presentation. Thank you very much.